September, it's known to be Suicide Awareness Month, which is a very, very important period for us as mental health experts because we get to talk about things that people do not want to talk about. From where you are, I'm sure each and every person, if not you, you are affected by just knowing, or you maybe seen it out there on social media about someone committing suicide and all that. And there is this notion of how selfish are they, wanting to take away their own life, not minding about their kids, about the life and everything. But we are here to let you know that suicide is a mental illness. That's something that people do not get to know. It's normally the output of something, and this something, what is it? So we'll be breaking this discussion in two different segments, where the first one, we're going to have our main psychologist. So with us we'll have Dr. Fabio. He is a lecturer at KU and also a principal psychologist at Allsmiles Therapy Center, as well as Julius Kuti. He's our unit psychologist at Allsmiles Therapy Center and also a lecturer. They'll be sharing much more about what goes on when we talk about men and suicide, because cases, they are way too high than expected. Not like we expect any, but if you talk about almost 75% of all the suicide cases to be men, that one means there is a very big gap. So for our men out there, let's get to listen from our own.
All right, my name is Dr. Fabio Gatti, counseling psychologist from Allsmiles.
And my name is Kuti Julius, counseling psychologist from Allsmiles Therapy Center. Thank you.
All right, so we want to talk about suicide. And suicide has become a major issue in our society. We are seeing an increase in the rate of suicide. And one of the things that we know that men are at a higher risk of dying of suicide than women. In fact, we find that the statistics show that almost 75% of the suicide cases are among men, which shows that men are at a huge risk of dying of suicide.
And there are signs that one can observe on a person who has suicidal ideations. Some of them are one changes from being dressing properly to dressing poorly, and the other sign you need to observe is there are some that write notes and they say they are tired of living, and they leave them with their relatives. You also find some that will always constantly keep on talking about tired. They are tired, they want to die, they are looking for something, a way of taking them out of this world, and such kind of things. And so these are things that we need to observe because they are become very common in the society.
All right. Yeah. So what are some of the reasons why people decide to end their life? You look at, typically you find that relationship is one of the major reasons, where people have conflict in a relationship, and that conflict and straining the relationship may make a person consider committing suicide. We also have situations where an individual has experienced a loss, especially maybe he has lost a job, lost a huge amount of money, or he has even lost a certain status in society, and that individual may end up sinking into depression and, of course, considering ending their life. We also have issues of situations where a person may be diagnosed with a certain condition that he feels, especially coming of illnesses, and the individual may feel that his life has come to an end.
We also need to have a society perspective in preventing suicide in the society. And some of the ways of preventing suicide in the society is by having friends, like the support system. We have families. We have people who keep on checking on friends as to how they are going on. If you have detected that there is something that is not going on well, you need to keep on checking on that person and talking, encouraging and giving hope to this person.
So, and to a person who's considering suicide, it's important to seek help. Ending your life is not necessarily a solution, but there's always help that you can find so that you're able to get the support you need and to view life in a certain way. Maybe there's something you're not, you're probably seeing in a different way and want to seek therapy, counseling and support to be able to resolve that issue so that you get a renewal in your life and start over again.
We also know that men are considered committing suicide because of the many responsibilities that they have. Some of them, you look at them and it's like you are not making your ends meet, and you go for contemplating to commit suicide, to thinking that this is a solution to the problems that you have or the burdens that you have. Some will think about money because men think about money every new day. And when they don't get the kind of money they want, sometimes it's not because they do not get money. It's because some compare themselves with other people and they feel like they are not getting enough. They think that suicide is the only way they can get peace in this world. And therefore, we are encouraging men to be like men and know that there's a life to live. And your death is going to affect so many people, including your children, your family, and relatives, and even the society at large. And therefore, we want to encourage men to keep on pressing on because there is hope. And suicide is not one of the solutions.
So one of the key reasons that makes people, especially men, to contemplate suicide is what I've called the fall from grace. This means that an individual has fallen from a certain status that he was to a lower status. This involves, it could be in a relationship. Some people have status based on the relationship that they have, and when they lose that, they feel that they have fallen. When people, maybe someone was having a certain job and he no longer has that job, or someone was having a certain status in society, either financially, in the community and such. When that status is lost, an individual, especially men, are likely to start considering ending their life because that they feel that they can no longer go back to where they are, because they feel that things are irredeemable.
As we said in our introduction, that men are at a high risk of committing suicide in our society, and more so in Kenya here. We have seen people commit suicide, and the big question that the society needs to ask themselves is, who are at the risk of committing suicide? And when we look at it, we see like these are the people, especially when you have been diagnosed with a terminal disease. Looks like you have lost hope, and the only thing that comes into your mind is you want to eradicate yourself from the face of the earth. And that is so wrong, because there are other avenues that you can explore for you to live and regain your hope. And therefore, we also need to know that suicide is a mental condition, and therefore it cuts across the board, that it's not for young men, not for old men, not any class of men, but you will find young people, students committing suicide. You also find, middle-aged committing suicide. You also find the elderly committing suicide, and therefore it's important for the society to keep on watch, to be on watch, so that in case you see a relative or a friend who is having some signs of suicidal ideations, it's important for us to rush very quickly and help that person. And how do we help them? We help them by talking to them and instilling hope in their lives, and making sure that they are with the people and they can see the need to live. As Daktari has said, when people fall short of the glory and they feel like they are not, managing life the way they used to manage, or they are fallen from a certain status now, it's like they think of that as the end of the road. But we are here to tell them that this is not the end of the road, because there are places you can go get help. And one of the places that you can go is the Allsmiles Therapy Center, where we serve. And therefore, when you get in touch with us, then we will be able to help each other, and you gain your strength again.
Yeah, and it's important not to use shame when it comes to an individual who is suicidal or an individual who is so depressed. Because remember, for a person to reach a level if where he's contemplating suicide, there's a high levels of shame because of where he is in his life at that time. So if you notice that an individual is suicidal, like we've talked some of the signs where he's isolating themselves, talking about ending their life, we should not use shame to make them change. We should embrace them and encourage them and show them that we care, and also direct them towards a place where they can get the support. So it's important, as we interact with people, not to use shame as a way of making them to stop, thinking about suicide.
And I think men need to be encouraged and to know that we are in this world with a purpose and we have a responsibility in this world, and therefore we need to take up the responsibility. And one way of taking up the responsibility is by knowing that things will be difficult, yes, but we should not be very quick to give up. We should seek help, and seek help that can help us live long on earth to add value to the world. Thank you.
So in the past, few years, we've seen an increase in the number of suicides, especially among men. It appears that men are at a higher risk of suicide because we're seeing even almost 70% of the suicide cases are among men. And there's need to have these conversations and to address this issue.
Yeah, we are concerned about men and suicide among men. And when you look at what is this really that causing men to commit suicide, this high rate is some of things are just a question of finances. When a man looks at himself like he is not getting enough money or the kind of money that other people are getting, and you compare yourself with them, then you contemplate suicide, and men have died through that. Some other things that make men commit suicide is about like when they are depressed, they think of committing suicide. When they are relationships and all that, it leads them to suicide. And there are quite a number of things that contribute to suicide, and it is easy to see and to note, to see signs of suicide in a man. Like, for example, when you see a man isolating himself and every time he's living alone, that man needs to be checked by the people that are close to him. When you see this man is writing notes, or he keeps on saying, I am tired of living, I am looking for a way of taking myself out of this world, and I think the world can be better without me, there is a risk of that man committing suicide.
Yeah, and if you see, typically some of the other issues that you find that indicate that a person could be suicidal, when the individual talks about, killing themselves, sometimes we think it's just, calling for attention, but whenever someone says that they want to commit suicide, it's important that we take it seriously. We also have issues where an individual is going through a certain crisis, maybe he has been diagnosed with a terminal illness, or the individual has gone through some issues, deep, serious conflicts in a relationship. Then it's important to be able to, watch out so that that individual can get the support that they need.
Exactly. And we also need to know, we also need to know when a person writes a note saying that he wants to commit suicide, we should not take it lightly, especially men, because we are more concerned about men, even more than ladies, that we need to be careful about the people that talk about it, that write notes, people that will always be around a group that is talking about suicide, and it's like you are supporting it, and it's like there is no problem committing suicide. They are taking it like a solution to getting peace in this life. I think such person needs help, and people that are around him are like the family, friends, and support systems are there actually to help that person get help.
Yeah, also if you look at an individual, if there's a sudden change in behavior, you see the individual maybe is now drinking excessively, the individual or is probably now starting to neglect himself, he doesn't, take on even caring for his grooming,
Sure.
or even, taking care of his responsibilities all of a sudden. So it's important to reach out so that that individual can get the support that they need.
And I think basically we need to encourage the society at large that we be on high alert, because the society and things, life is changing nowadays, and therefore we should not take things for granted. When we see change, like the Dr. said, about neglecting yourself, drinking too much, smoking too much, and maybe even hanging around out with wrong characters, we need to be observant and careful as a society and be able to really help. And in case you detect that there is any person with suicidal ideation, I think it is important for us to report to the necessary people.
All right. So also when you look at suicide, it's important for us not to judge the individual. An individual who's suicidal, one of the key things we try to talk to them is to, when they reach a point of considering suicide, is that they feel that there's no way out. So one of the key issues that we try to bring to the attention of the person is that there is a way out of the situation. And that means if you're having these thoughts of ending your life, you can reach out, get professional help, talk to someone who cares about you, someone who supports you, so that you can get the help. Because there's always a way, some of these issues can be addressed.
And this is why we are here to really bring to your attention Allsmiles Therapy Center, where we have been dealing with, we've been handling such cases of people with suicidal ideations. We have seen them get helped and get hope, and they live again. And most of them, some of them have reached back, saying that were it not for Allsmiles Therapy Center, they would not be living today.
Right.